There is a kind of suffering in children that does not shout. It does not slam a door, throw something across the room, or announce itself through a dramatic breakdown. It becomes quieter instead. A child who used to talk begins answering in one word. A child who used to enjoy dinner starts eating without interest. Someone who was playful becomes irritable over small things. They still go to school, they still say, I'm fine. From the outside, life appears to be continuing normally, but something inside them may be becoming harder to carry. When my son was 9, he said something to me in frustration. You don't know what I am going through in my life, Dad. I remember being surprised, not because the sentence was dramatic, but because I hadn't realized I was assuming a 9-year-old's life was simple. School, friends, play, homework, what could be so difficult in all that? But to him, that was his whole life. The friendship problem that looked small to me could fill his entire day. The moment of embarrassment in class could stay with him long after school ended. A remark from another child could follow him home, sit beside him at dinner, and lie awake with him at night. Children do not carry smaller feelings simply because their bodies are smaller. A few years later, I overheard him talking to a friend, saying something like, I feel invisible even when I am with my friends. Everyone behaves as if I am not there. He did not know I could hear him. I still feel something in my throat when I remember that. My son is not perfect. No child is. He may have contributed to some friendship problems himself, irritated someone, misunderstood something, handled a moment badly. Children are complicated, just as adults are. But even when a child has made mistakes, the loneliness can still be real. A child can be surrounded by classmates and still feel unseen, sitting inside a laughing group while quietly knowing that the laughter would continue exactly the same if they were not there. And this is where parenting becomes difficult. The child who is struggling does not always come home and explain the real story. They may not understand it clearly enough themselves, and they may be afraid that we will overreact. Call another parent, speak to the school immediately, blame them, or turn one painful moment into a large family crisis. So the feeling arrives in another form instead. It becomes rudeness at dinner, or outbursts like leave me alone, or an unnecessary argument over homework, or hours lost to a screen, or tears over something that appears far too small to justify them. The small thing is often not the thing. It is simply where everything underneath finally found a way out. As parents, we naturally respond to what we can see. We correct the tone, we ask them to stop being dramatic, we remind them that other children have bigger problems, we tell them to be strong, to ignore it, to focus on their studies, to stand up for themselves. Most of these responses come from love. We want to make the pain smaller, but sometimes in our hurry to make it smaller, we make the child feel smaller too. A child who says, nobody includes me, may not first need a strategy for making better friends. They may need one person to say, that sounds painful, tell me what happened, and then stay quiet long enough to hear the whole answer. Not the efficient version, not the part that helps us decide who was right or wrong, but the entire messy version, including the passes, the parts that don't quite match up, the parts where our child may also have been wrong. Receiving is different from fixing. Receiving says, you don't have to get this perfectly sorted out before bringing it to me. It says, I won't get so upset that you end up comforting me instead. It says, we can understand what happened before we decide what to do about it. Sometimes action will still be necessary. A teacher may need to be told. Someone may need to step in if bullying is happening. A counselor or doctor may need to be involved. Understanding does not mean doing nothing. But action taken after the child feels heard is very different from action that runs over them before their story is finished. Sometimes our child is not only being hurt, they may also be hurting someone else. Loving them does not mean defending everything they do. We can say, what you did was not okay, but I also want to understand what is happening inside you. Owning up to what happened and being understood can both happen at once. A quiet day is not always a warning, and a closed door does not always mean something serious. Children also need privacy, bad moods, and ordinary seasons of distance. But it's worth noticing changes that stay. The child who stops enjoying what they loved, whose sleep or appetite shifts, who seems far away even when they are in the room, who seems tired all the time, or who always says they are fine even when they are not. We don't need to figure out exactly what's wrong every time. We only need to notice that something has changed. Availability is not constant questioning either. A withdrawn child often experiences questions as another demand. How was school? What happened? Why are you like this? Tell me properly. Sometimes the way back is quieter than that. Sitting in the same room, folding clothes nearby, reading something, making tea, driving without filling every silence, letting your presence remain close without making the child perform an explanation. Many children speak sideways. They speak in the car when nobody is looking directly at them. They speak late at night after the official conversation is ended. They speak while helping in the kitchen or just as you are about to leave the room. The parent who's always rushed toward an answer may miss the moment when the real question finally appears. There are a few words children need to hear in ordinary moments, not only during a crisis. You're enough. I see you. You can tell me. Proved slowly by the way we respond even when the truth is hard to hear, rather than said once as a speech. A child decides whether a parent is safe long before the most serious moment arrives. They decide it when they admit a small mistake, when they say a friend ignored them, when they reveal a poor mark, when they tell us something we'd rather not hear. Every one of those moments teaches them whether to return with the next thing. We cannot remove every hurt from a child's life. We cannot guarantee that every friendship will hold, that every classroom will be kind, or that the world will always see what is good in them. But we can make sure that they don't have to carry it alone. The child who is quietly breaking does not always need a parent who can repair everything. They need a parent who notices, who can receive what is painful without immediately making it louder, who stays steady enough to say, I may not fully understand yet, but I am here. Tell me when you can. So maybe the real question is not whether my child is behaving well. Maybe it is how my child is doing really, beyond the marks, beyond the timetable, beyond the quick answer we get on the way out the door. How are they? And when did we last ask and remain quiet enough for the real answer to arrive? A ZuperParent does not wait for a child to break loudly. They learn to read the quiet.